Pay attention. Now, what I need you to do is stop what you're doing. Look right here. Pay attention over this way. Listen, if you think that this is the podcast where my wife joins me and beats the shit out of me for an hour, no. Not that sort of podcast. In fact, not a podcast at all. I like these are more interviews. These are the ones you guys look forward to. These are the ones that you like. Okay? Everybody can see, my wife can take and hit me in the side of the head with a frying pan for an hour. Well, we'd like to do something entertaining once in a while because that gets boring. These are the ones I like. These are the ones I enjoy doing. Okay, this is where you need to sit down with your adult beverage. Go ahead, put the cat out, let the dog in. Why? Well, cats don't seem to like this program so much. Dogs really do. Dim the lights, pull the drapes, turn the speakers all the way up, and settle back because this one's going to be fun. I got to tell you, we're introducing you guys. If you guys don't know who this is, you talk about a guy who's been in everything, and you're like, wait a second, who? It's Mark Pellegrino. Thank you for coming on today, my friend. I appreciate you being here a lot.
Thanks for having me, man.
Now, here's the deal. All right. He was born in 1965. He's Gen Xer. And since this is GenXTalks and everything we do looks through the lens of Gen X, you might see some commonality here. Now, the other commonality is his name is Mark Pellegrino. I knew a Don Pellegrino when I went to Madison Junior High in the San Fernando Valley. I don't know if they're related, but that's as close to the Pellegrino as I could get. So after that, we're just winging it. Now, before we get it, everybody knows you were in Lost and you were in Dexter and Supernatural. Okay, look, 85 interviews this last year. Everybody knows that. Everybody talks about the same thing. I want to get to there too, but I'd like to know how you got to this spot. Where were you born and raised? Let's pull back way to the beginning in 1965. Where were you?
In 1965, I was born in Pasadena, and then we moved when I was about 5 or 6 to Van Nuys. And so I grew up in Van Nuys. I went to Kittredge Street Elementary School, Madison Junior High School.
You did not go to Madison.
Yes, when you said that,
did not go to Madison.
Out. Yes, I went to Madison Junior High School.
I really knew a Don Pellegrino from Madison.
No shit. There's a lot of Pellegrinos around, and in fact, the Don Pellegrino that I know was my uncle. So way before our time. But
yeah.
But I'm sure there's Pellegrinos all over the place that are.
Now hold on a second here. I had no idea. I was throwing that out there because that's the only one I knew. What year did you graduate Madison?
I left, so let's see, I graduated Kittredge Elementary School in 77, so that means I was there in 78 and 79. I think I got out in the 8th grade and went to Notre Dame High School instead of Grant, which would have been the one that was right down the street from my house. Did you go to Grant?
I went to Poly.
Okay. Yeah.
I went to Poly. So, yeah, but
back in the days when I was going, they were doing that experiment on us kids where they were busing kids in, busing kids out from the inner city into the suburbs and from the suburbs into the inner city. My mom didn't like that, so she decided to take me out of the public school system.
That's when I got to Madison. It was 81, 82, 83. I just missed you. But yeah, they were doing the busing program and, it was all over the news. But I remember as a kid, it's like, look, it's not like we didn't like those kids. And it's not like they didn't like us. But I remember they're busing in 10, 12 busloads of kids from like Watts and Central LA. And they didn't know our culture and our lifestyle. We didn't know theirs. So it just made for more segregation in school. It's not like any of them were bad, but we're like, okay, we don't really want you to be here. We don't know you. And they said, well, we don't want to be here. They put us on a bus. We didn't want to come up here. Yeah. It was tough because as kids, you're looking going, why are we doing this? We didn't see the grand scheme of things. I don't know if it worked or not. I never really gave it a second thought because when I moved to Poly, they didn't do that in high school where I was at. But it was very weird in junior high. I forgot about that till you brought that up.
Yeah, one of my Hispanic buddies got roped into C14, which was the big Hispanic gang in Madison Junior High School at the time, and it ruined his life, man. He went from a sweet kid to carrying a switchblade and snorting paint, and hanging out with all the wrong people. I lost touch with him after junior high school, but he was a great kid until then.
I don't remember any stories of kids going down the wrong path in junior high. I just remember it was, and it really was. I don't want to say, boy, all those years at Madison were uncomfortable. No, they weren't. It's just that everybody kind of stayed in their own sections of stuff and did stuff. I mean, you got in lunch line with people that you didn't know, but nobody really cared. After a little while, it was like, all right, this is just weird, but we can't do anything about it, so we'll just leave it alone. And then everybody did. But yeah, I forgot about busting with that.
My elementary school, I guess it was predominantly white, but there were a lot of ethnic folks in my school, and I'd say at least 60 to 70% of my friends were ethnic. They weren't white.
Yeah.
And so when I went to Madison Junior High School, and kids from Compton and Watts were calling me white boy and cracker and just calling me names like that, I was like, it was so unfamiliar to me because no friend of mine who is ethnic ever made those kind of comments to me, and I never looked at my friends from an ethnic perspective before. So that was really my first confrontation with racism, to be honest with you.
We had the same thing when I went to a private school. In fact, if we back up, if you were in Pasadena, and now obviously when you were 2, you didn't know this, but I'm sure growing up or near the valley, Latuna Canyon was one way to get to Pasadena. Latuna Canyon went right up through Sun Valley, and you got into La Crescenta. Goddamn fucking piece of shit camera. I don't know. It's on that motion fucking thing, and I can't shut it off. Anyway, you take Latuna Canyon, went all the way up to La Crescenta and then Pasadena. But Village Christian School was tucked back in there.
I know that place.
You can't know that place. Nobody knows that place, Mark.
I do. I had a crush on I used to go roller skating on the weekends when I was in my maybe freshman or sophomore year at Notre Dame, and it was somewhere near the Palomino Club in the Valley. I forget exactly where the skating rink was, but there was a girl I had a huge crush on. Would skate with her every weekend. She was from Village Christian.
No way. What was her name? Yeah. Do you know? Do you remember?
Oh God, Sandy. Maybe it's been so long. I don't remember her name. She was so cute though.
Well, that was so funny because my wife and I went to Village. We all junior kindergarten. She went kindergarten through high school, so we're actually in our 5th and 6th grade class picture together in the same class.
That's funny.
A girl who's staying with us, a lady who's staying with us right now on her way to move to Iowa, is one of my wife's best friends, and she's 2 years older than us, so she would have been in the grade of the girl you're talking about.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
That's why, like, if you knew her name, I'd yell right now. I'd go, hey, come in here for a second. What do you? Because they know names, but you'd have to give me the last name or they may not know.
But let me ask you this real quick. Did Barry Antis still teach math in Madison Junior High School when you were there?
Did you know he got arrested?
Of course, because he was a pedophile, dude. I could see him flirting with all the girls, man. He was super weird.
Yeah, when I got there, Mr. Antis, after my first year there, the cops came in and were questioning him on 3 different occasions, and then they hauled him away. And of course, I'm walking around going, "What was?" Because I didn't know who. I knew who Mr. Antis was as a counselor by name, but I didn't know what was going on. To this day, it's like, oh, he was touching girls. I'm like, no, come on. And then
he was really weird.
You start asking some of the girls, and they would say, it was really uncomfortable him being our counselor. And they locked him up. I didn't even,
he was only a counselor then. He was teaching algebra, and I was in his pre-algebra class, and he wanted me to go into a more advanced thing, but I went to remedial math at one point, and I remember him walking down the hallway, looking in and seeing me in the remedial math course and going, that's one cool thing he did was he pressed me to do more than I thought I could do because I was really intimidated by math. But I would notice even then, like, he would be touching girls' hands and playing with their hair.
I never saw it. I wasn't around him enough. But boy, it seemed like the whole school knew but me. I wasn't around him. What was I can't remember what the principal and vice principal's name was.
I don't remember now either.
Mess it up. The principal, Mr. Marvin something, and he was a 6'6", big gray beard, very pleasant man. Okay. And then the vice principal was she was, I'm going to say, an older woman. Of course, I'm older than she probably was, then. And I'm thinking the reason I ended up at Madison, I got kicked out of Village. Okay. Big misunderstanding. Not my fault. No reason to get into it.
Are you serious, or is that just one of those things that you say?
No, I got kicked out. I got kicked out because I tried to sneak, a Village Christian, I tried to sneak into the girls' locker room for PE because they had 7th grade girls through 12th grade girls taking showers. And I was a 7th grade kid. And they used to push these big laundry bins. I mean, they were huge. It like took 2 7th graders and they would do the laundry on the guys' side. I guess the guys' PE areas where they had the washers and dryers and stuff. So they put all these warm towels and say, run those over to the girls. You go over to the office and you knock on the door, and then the teachers take it inside and take it to the back where the girls are, same as ours. And then somebody just takes all these unfolded towels and just tosses them to the girls walking out of the shower.
Yeah. I
thought it would be clever to pop out of the towel thing, like, hey, it's 7th grade, and there'd be all these high school girls. So I got in there and they pushed me over, and they pushed me inside. And then I thought they pushed me in towards the locker room, but apparently they pushed me back outside. And there was a guy named Mr. Plaisance. He's like football coach, 6'9", big black guy, 290 pounds, all muscle. He reaches in and grabs me by the neck and yanks me out of the towel thing. I was like, okay, I'm caught. So yeah, I had been caught anyway. I wasn't really thinking it through, but yeah, they're like, yeah, maybe you don't belong at Village Christian. I'm like, nah, maybe not. So I ended up that's how I ended up at Madison. And then it was an eye-opening experience coming from a private school, and then you're dealing with busing and all that stuff. But I wasn't around Mr. Antis, but I thought I was free. I thought, okay, because my mom was pretty dialed in with that school. I've been there since kindergarten. She knew everybody on staff. And here she doesn't know anybody. It turns out my mom went to Sun Valley Junior High back in the day, and her homeroom teacher all 3 years is now the vice principal at Madison. And they're best friends. Wow. I'm like, oh, come on. You got to give me a break. So, yeah, I was under a watchful eye from the moment I got there. But what was his name? Mr. Gugas was my favorite teacher. He taught history. I don't know if he was there when you were there.
I don't remember him.
And then Mr. Mikowski was drama. Mr. Mikowski had the drama department.
That sounds familiar, but I wasn't in drama then, so I don't know.
Little Jewish guy, full of energy, just fun to be around, really took care of people. And he promoted Shawnee Smith. I don't know if you know who she is.
Dude. Shawnee and I are friends. We've been friends. She went to Playhouse West before she did The Stand. She was just this little kid, man. I did tons of scenes with her back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Her and I work together all the time. I haven't seen her in a while. Last time I think I saw her was at some Video Music Awards, and that my wife was sort of directing a segment of, and I saw her there. But yeah, man.
Shawnee Smith lived on my street, and she was the hottest chick on my street, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. And she
was just this little chubby thing. She was so cherubic back then.
She was so beautiful. All the guys were in love with her, but she dated this asshole named Anthony Lepore. And this guy was like, oh, like, you can't, why do you pick the worst guy in the whole neighborhood? And she dated Anthony for like years. I don't know what happened to him. She don't think she stayed with him at all, but he's walking up and down the street in the summertime. She's in a bikini and he's in shorts, and we are literally Squints in the Sandlot crew. That was us sitting there going, God. And she was our Wendy Peppercorn the whole time. Funny. Yeah. And then who else was in there? I knew him as Josh Koenig, but his first name was different. Walter Koenig's son he played Chekhov in Star Trek. His son was Walter Koenig was the dad. Josh, I knew him as Josh Koenig. He used a different first name. And he went on to be, he was Boner with the Sieverts on that show. What was that show with Kirk Cameron? That 80s show.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name.
Well, he played Boner on there. He was in that class with Mikowski, and so was Shawnee. There was
Wait, so Shawnee was at Madison?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I never knew that about her. All the years that I've known her, I never knew that about her.
She was at Madison, and so.
But how crazy is this that we're connected like this?
We haven't got to the interview.
It's so weird, man.
Oh, the other one was Danny Nucci. I don't know if you know. Yeah, Danny Nucci was in Madison. He was a big shot there too, and really, I mean, everybody knew him.
I
Did a
remember
great
that.
job.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. So there was a bunch of people. Of course, when we went there, we didn't know any of these guys were going to be famous, And so our claim to fame was, we went to Madison. Do you know that Lindsay Wagner went here? She was the Bionic Woman. We used to tell everybody because that
Did
was
she go to Madison?
Yeah, before you.
Right, sure, yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, that was our claim to fame. And Madison was like, well, we had Lindsay Wagner in our school. Who's gone to your school? Now that's all changed by the really famous people that have gone there, and not including me, them. But it's a kind of diverse group with that, but it was a lot of fun hanging out with all them. And then Rod Beck went to Madison. He was my friend for 3 years, and he did go to Grant, where you said you were going. He was that relief pitcher for the Giants with the big mustache. He was their relief pitcher for years, and he held a lot of records for the San Francisco Giants. So
yeah, my stepbrother went to Grant, and all of my friends that lived in the neighborhood ended up going to Grant.
Yeah, God, I guess we should start the conversation. So you went crazy. So you ended up at Madison, you say, and then you went to a private school.
Then because of the busing situation, which exposed us to some crazy shenanigans, my mom sacrificed a little bit, and I went to Notre Dame, and that inspired me to work and to pay for my books, because I just felt so bad that my mom was having to pay for my schooling that I ended up working at Jack in the Box to pay for my books. So I would work through the summer, and then I actually on a limited schedule would work throughout the year as well, but mostly in the summer to build up enough money to pay for my textbooks.
Gotcha.
And then I went there for 4 years, and then I went to college almost immediately afterwards at Cal State Northridge for only 1 year though. I found out that you got a really good deal as an incoming freshman. Right after orientation, they put you ahead of like 40,000 other students, and you can get all the classes that you actually want for your major.
Yeah.
And then after that, you have to really fight for stuff.
Right.
And you wind up taking classes that you wouldn't ordinarily take, just because you have to build up the units until you become a sophomore and then a junior, where you then have the plush choices again. I just didn't like that, man. I finally had to take some nighttime French class, which I just wasn't involved in mentally at all. And I met this girl at the time that was far more interesting than school. So I just quit school and started.
Where'd you meet her?
I worked at this gas station on the corner of Victory and Sepulveda. It was right across from the Dupars. I don't think the Dupars is there anymore, but it was a classic Dupar.
Great restaurant, yeah.
It was great, yeah. And I worked there, and I was in a band. So I had long blonde hair. I thought I was a rocker, sort of. But I wasn't. And I met her. She was getting off the bus with a buddy of hers, and I fell in love with her at first sight, which has never happened to me before, and never happened to me since.
Well, yeah. Sometimes that's just one time. Yeah, I get you.
It was one time, and now I'm suspicious of it. If it would ever happen ever again, I'd be very suspicious of it, because she turned out to be quite interesting. she was pretty off the wall.
Some of those girls you get to, they become a roller coaster ride when you fall in love quick. That's for sure.
She was a roller coaster ride, and I was totally devoted to. At some point, it changed from devoted to loving her and as a human being, and then it changed to trying to save her because I just thought she was going to annihilate herself. She was so off the hook. That's a whole complicated story, but
I bet
I was able to get out of that, and then found myself adrift and wondering what I was going to do at 19, 20 years of age.
Yeah,
I didn't want to really go back to school, but I knew I was now in adulthood and had to start thinking about making a living. And so I think I was in a Topanga Mall or something, and I saw an advertisement for a modeling school. And I went there. It's sort of a scammy modeling school that takes your money, and then you do Photoshop.
Oh, yeah.
All that crappy stuff. And then, but they were offering a free commercial workshop. I did that. And the teacher there was a commercial soap opera actor who set me up with an agent, and which was great, fortunate, and I guess made it all worthwhile. And that agent set me up with an acting school, or he gave me a choice. He's like, here, you need to learn to act, and here's 10 schools in the Los Angeles area. Which one do you want to do? I picked the closest and the cheapest.
Yeah.
And it happened to be one of the best, I think, on the West Coast. And I ended up learning acting from there, and then trying to apply it over time. And there's a lag time between learning what you're learning in the classroom and then applying
there's a quote you say every now and then. I'm gonna see if I get this right. I'm quoting you, and you're quoting someone else, but I'm gonna mess this up. You say you spend the first 2 years learning how to be an actor, and then 18 years trying to get out of your own way.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because the great Sandy Meisner said it takes 20 years to be an actor. And I would think about that. And it's like, well, it's only 2 years really to learn the technique, 4 if you're stretching it out.
Yeah.
What's the rest of it all about? Getting out of your own way and stop being your own moral hazard. Basically.
I was listening to you in the interview, my man. I was paying attention. I quoted you correctly.
You did.
I want to say something here, because before we go off too far, growing up in the Valley, I try to explain to people, because obviously, you have fans all over the world and especially all over the country, and GenXTalks has people from all over the country. And I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm kind of speaking for guys like us who grew up in the Valley. When you're 9, 10, and 11, you just think everybody's doing this. You think the beach is right close to everybody just over the hill. You think Disneyland is an hour away for everybody. I didn't know where we grew up with something so special. I had no idea. And this is the part that people don't understand. It's like, well, when I was a kid, you could ride your bike and you could see movies being filmed. You could see television. We saw the A-Team. We saw Knight Rider, the Incredible Hulk. They're filming stuff, and you call and, hey, they're doing this over here. And you ride over and you sit there and you watch. And they, sometimes the actors would come say hello, and they always kept you far enough away, but you could go watch and see famous people. I didn't know. I thought everybody was doing that. I had no idea that, in Gary, Indiana, they may not be happening. I just thought where we were was like where everyone was. Was that like that for you growing up? Did you understand? When did you understand that where we grew up was kind of a special place to be? Because it really was.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the exposure to Hollywood that you did, so I don't remember seeing them filming on the streets. And if I did, I probably wouldn't have really recognized it. And I wasn't really interested in film or television at the time. I loved watching TV. I mean, I watched The Incredible Hulk. I watched the A-Team. I watched Happy Days. I watched all the Welcome Back, Kotter, and all the films. Kung Fu is one of my favorite series. All those series, captivated me, but I never had any interest in it, and probably wouldn't have recognized it if I saw it. But yeah, I mean, you could ride your bike to Universal Studios, right? I mean, you could, and we often did. And I did take for granted that 45 minutes away is the beach, or we could go to the hills and hike if we wanted to. And
right.
I went one summer with no shoes on the whole freaking summer. I don't know how I did that. And we just had a pretty carefree life. I mean, a lot of fun and a lot of stuff right there to Magic Mountain 40 minutes away,
right? Knott's Berry Farm
away, Knott's Berry Farm, really close comparatively speaking, for other folks who have to go from like Kansas to Orlando or something. Yeah, we lived in a blessed place. There was a lot of smog. We had smog days back then, where they would have first stage smog alerts that were supposed to be hazardous to your health. Those are gone. That's good.
Yeah.
But I loved growing up in the Valley. I thought it was great.
I did too. I compare it to, I say, if I had to guess, maybe I probably wouldn't trade growing up in the Southern California area for probably any other place. I know people have told me New York, there were some really great spots in the suburbs of New York. Okay. But where I grew up, maybe I wouldn't change the place. Maybe the other one comparable would be maybe the 50s. Late 50s in the Valley. Maybe that would rival where you and I grew up in the time. But other than that, I don't think I'd trade it for any other time period or any other place that I've heard about. It just was.
Well, back in the 50s, we would have been surrounded by orange groves and farmland and
olive trees, right? Yeah,
it would have been cool.
Yeah, that'd have been different too. I don't know. I just really look at it and I'm thankful. I'm very grateful that we ended up where we did. It was just a great time to be there, and I didn't know it at the time. But I do now. I look back and I know now. So
yeah, me too. I agree.
So you
I
go
mean,
back.
my neighborhood is a little sketchy now, to be honest with you, but it was pretty good. It was probably built in the late 50s, early 60s, and then by the time we moved in 1970, it was starting to slide a little bit. Now it's completely slid. It's completely slid.
Well, what street were you on in Van Nuys?
I was on Long Ridge, so like right by the main streets that were closest to me were Fulton and Victory.
Okay, so you were on the other end of Van Nuys. I was near Kaiser Hospital. I
Oh
grew up.
yeah, so I know where that is.
I,
Yeah,
between I was more like on Woodman and Sherman Way, that area.
yeah.
Kind of near there. So which isn't a great neighborhood right now either. It's gone downhill quite a bit too. But at the time, it was just middle class America for me. We like I said, we were the Sandlot. We played baseball on the street all the time and just went to everybody's house.
We did that. We went to everybody's house and we would, I'd earn allowance money and my buddies would earn allowance money working. And then we'd go to Chris and Pitt's, which was right around the corner from us. And every summer we'd have ribs and we'd buy ribs and salad and French fries. And we did this by ourselves. We were like 9, 10 years old.
Yeah,
I can't imagine people letting their kids out like that now, going into a restaurant on their own, on their own.
6, 9-year-olds coming into Chris and Pitt's going, table for 5, please.
Yeah. We did it. We did it back then.
They had a pizza place out in your neck of the woods, a little further out. I think it was on Ventura, called Baroni's. It was Baroni's Pizza.
I don't know that one.
They serve big square pizza. I'd never seen a square pizza before. I thought that was great when I was a kid. So
that's funny.
Just those times, I tell you. All right, back to the formal interview. Lean in here. Now we could sit here and we could talk to Mark about all the supernatural Dexter lost things he's done. But here at GenXTalks, I think you guys want the hard-hitting questions. You want to get to the root cause of how this man became who he is. Mark, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
You guys hear that? I don't think anybody in the history of interviews have ever asked him that question. Not one time in 700 interviews. But you heard it here on GenXTalks. That's right. This is exclusive information. I don't want you to think this is a wasted time. It's not. I'm glad you're all here. I want to ask you a question about acting in general. I know that I've talked to other people in the field, and it doesn't seem like anybody ever takes an acting job based on how successful they think the show or the movie's going to be. I haven't run into one person that says, well, I only took that because I thought it was going to be great. Most of them take it because when they read the page, they're like, this is interesting. I can get behind this. Have you ever taken a role where you were scared and like, you were challenging yourself to do the role? You didn't care how it came out. You didn't care what the public was going to think. We all want good reviews. We want to be relatable. We want the public to enjoy what we're doing. I got that, but I'm setting that part aside and just asking you, did you ever have something in your hand, a page where you went, this is going to be challenging, maybe controversial. I don't care how it turns out. I'm doing it. You want to dive into it because what you saw on the page.
That's a good question, because I feel like my standard for doing stuff is twofold. Is it paying me so that I can keep the lights on and keep bread and onions on the table?
Sure.
And is it not real? Okay, like I'll have to give an example for that.
Yes, help me out with that one.
Yeah, because I was going to audition for Aaron Sorkin, who's an amazing writer, as everybody knows who's seen his stuff. It was for a political show, and I disagreed with everything the character was saying and thought that I would be magnifying issues that I thought were not good, not very interesting politically. Yeah. To me, I thought wrong, and I didn't hear any voice countering it, and I thought that was too real for me. Whereas, the devil, as I played Lucifer, isn't real. Everything in my perspective isn't real. So as a fictional character, I can indulge in that character's whims with relative impunity, because it's the opposite of what I think is good, because I'm very pro-human and pro-life and want people to thrive. I don't want to destroy people like Lucifer did. But it's also not real. So even if it did go against my grain, it's not real. And so it's not like I'm saying this is I say these ideas are
Sure.
so, right?
Well, okay. Now hold on. Let me back up then, because I don't want to skip over what you said. So you didn't take that character that had an ideology or politics that, even though you thought you could do a good job with the character, you didn't like what the character represented, so you kind of didn't want to do a good job. You skipped that role. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you took Lucifer because it being a fictional character, that you could indulge yourself, and it didn't go against your moral compass, so you were okay. Did I nail that? Or
Well, it goes against my moral compass, but nothing that I'm saying is actual, in the sense that I'm not representing thoughts that people could take to be real. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like they would as a politician.
You're not endorsing anything, so to speak. You're not. Okay. So where I saw a couple of interviews you did, you lightly touched on that, or I should say the host lightly touched on that, is that at one point you had some sort of faith and came to a conclusion to let that go.
Yeah.
Was that a big moment for you, or did you just kind of have a sigh of relief and go, okay, I'm kind of moving away from that?
Oh no, it was devastating. It was like breaking up, but worse. Because and it wasn't an instantaneous process. Like, it wasn't like I had an epiphany moment. I had many epiphany moments, but it didn't end in immediate break. It ended in fractures along the way, but that I could never quite release for years, until the concepts that I knew to be true based on my evaluations trickled down into my felt sense, into my guts. And then it became a sincere break, but it took probably 2 decades.
Well, and I'm not judging you either way. I have friends on both sides of the aisle on that discussion, and they're some of my best friends my whole life, and I love them, and I'll never not be their friend for any of the things they think like that. But I've seen people go through switches and they take it very seriously, but I've also seen people that kind of flip on a dime, and I don't care for that as much. I like people to have big decisions like that. I'm very in favor of taking your time and letting it affect you and understand it to the best of your ability, which is what you just described. So,
well, the parable of the seeds, and the seed that doesn't really take to the soil, but is sort of on the surface. If you're able to switch on a dime like that, then you didn't really take the concepts very seriously to begin with, because if you take them seriously, it's in your gut, it's in your soul, it's deep, it's really deep, and it's answering a need in you that that you just can't flip that like a switch. You have to really get your mind and soul around it, because it's a massive decision you're making to orient yourself in an entirely different way than you were before, and that's no small task.
No. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you keeping score at home, we're going to write down good, solid answer from Mark, so you can see check in the good column right there. All right, moving on. Going off that, from before, did you ever take on a role, take a character that you were like, wow, I'm having trouble getting into this character, I'm having trouble absorbing this? Because you have to. You got to get into what you're playing. You got to make a guy like me. You got to make me believe it when you're up there. So I and this is the one thing I'm going to say this in a way, and I'm not trying to. Goddamn fucking camera! Look at that thing. It just zooms in for no goddamn reason. What the fuck is wrong with this thing? It's like it has its own crew going. Oh, now zoom in now? No, not now. Stop it. I'm going to say this in a. I'm not trying to fanboy you right now, okay? Can we get that out of the way? Everyone at home, are you paying attention? But there's actors who can go on screen and they're an actor because maybe they're not selling it right, and like, wow, that's not really convincing. And so all of a sudden you're drawn back out of the scene because you're like, wow, you said that with like you had a ton of bricks tied to you. That didn't go. But there's other actors that you look at them and you just know they're actors. And I said, I'm going to say this in a weird way. For me, every time Tom Cruise is on screen, I see Tom Cruise. I wish I didn't, but I just do. Every time I see him, like, oh, Tom's up there. Look what Tom's doing. And I can see a guy like Harrison Ford, and the first time I see him, like, oh, Harrison's in that movie. I never think of him again as Harrison Ford. Whatever role he's playing, that's what I see. Every time I see something. that's the way you are. You've had some parts where you're 100% recognizable, and I would never know it's you. I don't
Oh,
ever
thanks.
look at the screen and go, "Oh, there's Mark. What's Mark doing?" No, you blend in and bring the character up. That's all I see. And
Oh, thank you.
there's not many that's so hard for some people to do. But that's the best example I can give you if we quickly do that. So when I ask you about a character that's hard to get into, for me, that means you're on the verge of not selling it. So did you ever have a trouble getting in?
Well, I mean, I feel like that was probably a, a big trouble early on in the career, as you're trying to transcribe what you're learning in the classroom about acting to the application in the real world. There's a huge gap there, and you're trying to figure out your own sense of timing and how your own style of work and what you need, your conditions for work and all that stuff. And at the same time, dealing with your self-esteem, like, maybe you just don't have enough confidence to tell the director, this is what I need, or to ask a question. All this is what, takes the 20 years.
Sure.
But so I would say probably I had lots of issues early on because I tried so hard. I tried hard. I tried too hard to realize a thing. And then I realized that it's really about taking hands off the wheels and letting life happen. Let the other person take you wherever they take you, and being playful and open and emotionally available to your understanding of what the scene is about. So you wind up overcomplicating things at first, which gives you all kinds of troubles and makes you distant from the character. And then you give it all up. You release all the stuff that you've learned. You understand you have to do your homework, right? But you understand the real work is being present and in the moment with the other person and letting it go. I'll give you an example. I'm doing this little horror movie now. And it's about a mimic, this evil spirit, and it mimics the voices of people in your life. It's knocking on the door, and there was this section of the scene where this thing is knocking on the door, and there's a group of us at a table, and the director said to the kids, the kids 30, 20 years old, they're not kids, but was telling him, you got to be scared. I'm like, don't say that. Don't tell them to be scared, because then they're going to act a state. They're going to act some cliche idea of what scared is. And I gave us all an activity to do, something to do when we heard the knock. And when we did that, well, we had experience, and every time it was a little different, but every time it was pretty close to what the director wanted. But it wasn't result oriented. We weren't trying to, don't try to get anywhere emotionally. Just trust yourself and relax and play. And I find that the more I do that, the less trouble I have getting involved in a character.
Well, so I asked you specifically to pick a character you had trouble getting into. So we're going to write that over here as did not answer the question.
Well, no. So
for those of you playing at home,
because there would be too many. There would be too many. There would be too many to count, because I feel like the whole first 5 years or 6 years of what I was doing was, probably was hard to getting immersed.
I get you. I got to give you a little bit of shit about that. But well, you horror, man. I can't believe how into horror you are.
I know.
You made a statement one time. I had to play it. I had to play this interview back, like this section of it, twice with you, because I didn't believe you. I didn't believe what you were saying, and you were trying to describe how sometimes there can be a situation in horror where a character, God fucking, okay, I'm not going to talk with my hands anymore. I'm not raising my hands. I'm not doing them. Turn it off.
I think you wanted to zoom in to get this moment. You were about to go into a moment.
Going to lean into the camera on this one right now. You had said in some ways it can be harder for an actor to sustain a main character in horror for the duration of the film, for the intensity you have to bring that entire time. I went, no, that's not right. And I'm not an actor, but I still argued with you, and I rewound it and I played it again. I still don't even know if I get what you mean by that, because, scenes are cut up and divided amongst hours and days. You get a break in between. Every character you come into, you have to go back and
that makes it worse. That makes it worse.
Does it?
Yeah, because it's prolonging. Look, a person in horror is in life or death scenario all the time. Like, and it's intensifying. It's getting closer to the death part of the life or death scenario throughout the entire movie. And it's not like you're doing it in sequence. It's so that you have a chance to experience each successive thing. You're doing it out of sequence, which challenges the actor to remember where they are all the time, so they know what came before and they know where they're going, kind of thing. And the fact that you have to sit in it for 12 hours, it's not like you're just you see it for 5 minutes on a screen, and the entire thing probably takes 2 hours. But that one scene that you saw that took 5 minutes probably took 4 days to shoot.
You're right. And when you just brought something up there, you don't get to shoot it in sequence. So it's not even like you can say, not even as an actor can you go, well, we were here and now we're here and now we're here, because the story's building. You could be shooting the last scene first.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'm right. I'm gonna take back everything I said. I'll skip that.
It's hard. Look at good horror movies and you'll see that the hero or heroine in the film is at an extreme emotional pitch through most of it.
I would agree with that. It struck me as odd that was such a thing you were interested in, and I just wouldn't have, I wouldn't have been able to guess anyway. But when you said horror, I was like, really? Because there is some depth to that, and almost nobody would pay attention or pick up on that. No one's, when you're just watching a horror movie, you're not.
I mean, look at Ellen Bernstein in The Exorcist, one of the greatest horror movies ever made. I mean, once her child gets possessed and her personality completely changes, and she is at a loss as to what to do, and she's trying to save her child's life, even to the point where she protects her from murder. Like, she knows her kid murdered the director, and she's confessing this to the priest. That's Ellen Bernstein is on a pitch of emotional. Let's just watch her from the moment that happens until the end. I mean, I don't see how she did it.
No, that's you're right. There's more to those things than meets the eye if you're just paying attention. I would agree with that completely. So, I was going to ask you something else. You have said before, you have studied, you have watched, you enjoy some of the old actors, from the 50s and the 60s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in there. You referenced once Marlon Brando. What other ones would you say that come to mind that you're like, those guys are at the pinnacle of acting? And then I'm gonna bleed into what you said after that, because I have questions. I got questions. Well, what would you be your top 5 like actors back in the day?
Well, I mean, it's going to be Monty Clift. It's going to be James Dean. It's going to be Marlon Brando. But I even liked guys like, for certain things, I can't say all the way across the board, but for certain things, I love John Wayne. I mean, he was able to sustain stardom for his entire career, which is nearly impossible. And unlike a lot of men actors, he got better as he got older. And of course, was nominated and won Academy Awards late, when he was dying.
Right.
And Bogart, some of the old guys like Bogart, Cagney, Paul Muni, and I love Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. Okay, so if you've got those names back then, who do you look at now and go, what they do is amazing? I know you look at Leonardo DiCaprio and go, that's just a guy who doesn't need acting lessons. He just got it. Who else is kind of on that Mount Rushmore? Just for you, just stuff that you like. You liked a specific performance or the whole thing, but you got to have a few. I do. But in these moments, they're sometimes hard to come up with because there's so many of them. Like, I don't have one single favorite movie. I have, multiple movies that exchange, that exchange over time, And,
well, Robert Duvall had an answer to that question. Not that I asked it. I did not.
He would be one of my guys for sure.
And he says he looks back at the people before him and he's got a list of names just like you did. But he says, I cannot keep up with the actors of today. There is such talent out there.
It's crazy.
Like you just said, there's so many names that he just goes, I just can't believe what I see in actors these days. It was just incredible to watch, the talent. And that's from him. That's from Duvall.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, I love Timothée Chalamet. I think he's amazing. And I haven't seen anything that he's done that is not human, like human at just such a raw, basic level. He's such a good actor, and he reminds me of Leonardo in the sense that he just seems like he can walk on and just play, really play. And he also brings that sense of life that really good actors bring, where it's poignant, but it's also funny. You know,
Right.
they can make you laugh. Yeah, God, there's so many.
And that's the thing that I try to tell people with movies, and they don't believe me. It's with television too, but it's mainly with movies. I tell people when I go to the movies, I am invested. I am there. If the director and the actors want me to be angry, I want to. I'm in it. If they want me to cry, I want to be on the verge of crying. I want to be sucked into the movie
Sure.
the whole way through. I'm not there to complain and talk and poke fun at what's going on. Oh, that's not real. I came there to feel like I'm in the movie. I give you that as a ticket goer,
Yeah.
as a fan. I want to. That's why I'll tell you one of the things you brought up one time before that I looked at. I went, holy shit! If they ever did this and he was in it, I could see you being a character in Peaky Blinders. And
I
I
love
was
that
like,
show. Oh my God, I love that show. And he's one of the actors out there that I would put in that category as well.
yeah.
And I first saw him in a horror movie, by the way, by Danny Boyle called 28 Days Later, which remade the entire zombie genre.
Yeah. Wow. But do you see what I'm saying about that level and that commitment, where they're doing those things? You just look at somebody and go, that's amazing. I mean, the talent, and Leonardo's up there too. Everything he's in.
Tom Hardy too. Speaking of Peaky Blinders,
Right.
because Tom made a great appearance in there, and I think he's exceptional as well.
Yeah, just you look at that stuff and you compare him to the old actors, and I don't know if, and maybe Duvall's right. Maybe there's more new talent, better talent, equal. But boy, when you get a compliment from Duvall about that, that's something to pay attention to when you really want to start looking at who's out there. And there is some stuff. I agree with you. Like when you mentioned about Peaky Blinders, and you mentioned before about Leonardo, I'm on board with you on that. And there's so many. It's tough to name them. It is.
Well, the young actors are fortunate because guys like Brando and Monty Clift and Dean, Paul Muni, they paved the way, right? They're the ones who established the idea of this internal acting and deep, real, emotive experiences while you're acting. And I think young actors take that for granted. They also take the naturalism that so many actors are able to bring to the screen today for granted. They forget that in the 30s and the 40s, acting was very mannered, and in the 50s, it was very mannered. And then out comes Brando with Streetcar Named Desire and The Wild Ones and the Waterfront, On the Waterfront. And he's so different from everybody else. Even great actors like Lee J. Cobb in that movie, who is a member of the group theater and a fantastic actor in his own right, one of the greatest Willy Loman of all time, right? He looked theatrical next to Brando because Brando is so real and so raw and so primal and doing something so different. I remember Bobby Lewis, who was a great acting teacher, taught Meryl Streep, as a matter of fact. He was part of this group theater, and he saw Marlon Brando I think he saw him in I Remember Mama first, which was his first Broadway appearance. But he knew there was something extraordinary about this guy. And then he saw him in Streetcar Named Desire. And he just could not believe how raw and how we take for granted how real he was, because we get a lot of that today. But when he did it, nobody was doing it.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Well, it's hard. And okay, I'm not going to say it was easier to be an actor back then. It was, everybody who changes the genre, or they change things in an industry. The first person through the wall always gets a bloody nose, and you got to pick up the pieces and go. So, Brando goes through and he's like, well, this is me. And everybody followed along. They recognized it right then. But I have to guess, and this is a guess, that it's harder for you to be an actor today because there's 17 million people trying to be an actor. You had to carve out your way through when we were kids in the 70s and 80s and 90s. You had to carve out a place where it was a saturated field. You had to find, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you stood out amongst everybody because and now with social media, everybody wants to be a voice actor. Everybody wants to turn in their highlight reels. Everybody wants to sign on for something, and you're still doing it. You're still there. You're still getting jobs, man.
Well, what I tell students, which is a little disconcerting to them, I say, look, if you're in your 20s and you're acting right now, there is no competition. Now, there's going to be a lot of people in the room back then when you audition, for things in the room, but they're all taking up oxygen. 99% of them. You're maybe competing with one other person who takes the craft seriously. If you take this craft seriously, you should work all the time. If you don't, you'll be like everybody else. Now, once you get to my age, your 50s and 60s, then you're dealing with people we've been nominated for awards, we've won awards, we've been in it for the long haul. We're totally fucking serious about what we do, and we ain't going anywhere. There's competition there. But when you're 20, I mean, they're at the best, aside from the geniuses, and the exceptional folks from the beginning. But if they're normal folks, they're trying to wrap their head around the technique too, and they're trying to wrap their head around when to be good, when not to focus on that, and they're trying to find their way, and there's a lot of there's a lot of room in that territory to rise to the top.
Yeah, you don't want to say there's a lot of room at the bottom. That's what you were going, but you didn't want to say that. I'll say it. There's a lot of room at the bottom, but I know what he means. He means, the entry level when everybody's getting going. You teach, of course, in Los Angeles and in Paris. Have you ever? I gotta know if you see something. Have you ever just had a spark of a student and you're like, oh my, they've got it? Have you ever just seen it right off the bat?
Yeah. Yeah. And so is my wife. My wife has had a couple that have made it really pretty good. And you can see it oftentimes from the very beginning. Yeah. There's a couple of folks in Paris that I think are going to be very, very, very good. And have good careers in front of them. If they don't give up, they're going to have to keep going. And, that's the thing. You have to have a combination of your acting talent, your work ethic, and you have to have a thick skin and keep working, even though everything's telling you not to.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are some folks like that, and it's a real joy to work with them. And in Paris, I work with them. I don't just teach with my wife. I get up on stage with them.
Oh.
It's an honor for me to be up on stage with people like that.
Well, you ever got fired from a job? I don't mean Burger King. Don't tell me Burger King. I don't want to hear about Ralph's grocery store or something.
No, I almost got fired from an acting job. I was doing this. It was a horror comedy film called Bad Meat. They ended up, okay. Now it's a terrible title, but it was actually a very funny horror comedy. But they had some terrible mismanagement. They kept going bankrupt during the shoot, which we didn't really shoot. We ended up going to Winnipeg. Davey Franco was in it. It would have been one of his first features. Now, of course, he's well beyond that. But great young actors were in it. And we were playing. The premise was these troubled kids go off to a camp that's sort of like a boot camp for bad teenagers. And we're camp counselors, and we're very authoritarian, creepy people who have them trapped in this secluded camp in the forest. And a disgruntled worker makes a stew with this bad meat, and it turns us into zombies, flesh-eating zombies, and we go after them. That was sort of the premise of it.
Okay, I'm with you.
A vegan wrote it. But we only got about maybe 4 or 5 scenes shot, not a lot. And I wanted to do something like I wanted to shave my head and do a comb over and do this weird stuff for my hairdo. And the director, Rob Schmidt, who did Wrong Turns, he loved it. He was like, oh my God, this is great. But we kept stopping and starting production, right? For like 5 or 6 times, they flew us back to LA, then they flew us back to Winnipeg, and we'd wait, and no shooting was done. And then after a while, I was like, dude, I don't know how long this is going to take, and I don't want to be in this hair state for months and months and months and months and months. So we're just going to have to sort it out and do something different. He got so mad, he called me. He's like, I got to talk to you. He's like, you're fired.
Whoa.
I was like, whoa, why? What the hell? And that really, really hurt me. I'd never been fired by anything before. And at the same time, I'm thinking, Philip Seymour Hoffman says you haven't lived until you've been fired from a project. I'm like, fuck that. No, I don't like this. He finally worked something else out with me, but he was just he apologized later. He's like, "Look, I just think I was really upset because of all the stops and starts, and it eventually ended up going bankrupt. They only filmed maybe less than a quarter of the movie, and they still released it as a full-length feature film."
Please tell me. I want to know how you're. I know what your wife was saying or girlfriend at the time when you had to live with that comb over and a shaved head for all that time because you had to stay that way.
No, I didn't do it. I didn't do it because we kept stopping and starting.
But not even for a little bit there?
No. And that's why he got mad at me because he loved my idea. And I was like, I'm not going to sit like this for freaking months. Look, when I just did the prequel for Vought Rising, we did it from August to March. And my hair they had to bleach my hair every 2 weeks to keep it like perfectly white, and that stuck with me for 2 months, and people thought I was 100 years old because I just looked like here, I don't know if you can even see this. That's me.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's me on Vought Rising.
Hold on. You know who that looks like? That looks like
one of the Simpsons.
No, it was it looks like to me like Burt Lancaster when he has.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah, but I mean that white hair, and we thinned it out, and I had the big bushy white mustache. I looked like I was 100 years old. It was hard for casting for a while until I got my hair back to normal. So I didn't want to,
Yeah.
I knew even then that would be a bad idea, but for Vought Rising, it was worth it. But for this little movie, it's
no, especially if they can't keep their shit together. You're like, look, I'm not going to be that vested if you guys can't even pay the bills. No, I'm not doing it.
And I think they only released it because, they had Davy Franco, who became sort of a star. And I was doing Supernatural at the time. And I think one of the girls was doing Black Sails.
So they latched onto the names, I guess, and tried to make a dollar. I got you.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
I was reading something about you that you teaching acting. I get that, but if you couldn't, you would consider teaching history. Is that right?
Yeah.
What part of history would interest you to teach?
I love American colonial history. I love the Revolutionary War period.
Okay,
it's my favorite time.
With that being said, if you had the opportunity to play a character from that time, who would you pick?
Oh, Lord.
And I'm not letting you off. You go, well, there's so many. We did that last round. This round, you got to answer.
I would love to be George Washington.
Yeah?
I think he was the greatest president of all time. I think without him, there would have been no union. There would have been if we won the war, which would have been highly unlikely, we would have crumbled after the Articles of Confederation. There would have been no unity, and we would have been victims of the Spanish and the French, and the English would have come in and just sopped us up. It was because of his stature, his moral stature, and his shrewdness, and his self-control. Right, he's the most powerful man in the world at the time, and still gave up the presidency. And King George III said, if he actually gives this up, this mantle of power, when the American people want him to be the king of America for the rest of his life, he's the greatest man in the world, and he did.
Wow,
he did.
Yeah, he pulled up some crazy stuff.
I'm the same height as him, so and John Adams made a beef about one of the reasons that George Washington got all those jobs was because he was the tallest man.
Because the tallest. Yeah, he's crazy too. I mean, some of the stuff he did, sneaking up, crossing the Delaware, I mean, that was, who would do that?
He was a bold guy. Yeah,
he really was.
Stuff. Sometimes foolhardy in a sense that he thought he could take the British on in a full frontal assault and realized that he couldn't after a time, but. Certainly after running through New York and New Jersey and running for his life with the British chasing him, it was a pretty bold move to do an about face. And
yeah, just some of the stuff. I agree. That'd be a great character to play in there too. My biggest one was World War II. I'm not a history buff, but I just am drawn in by so much stuff. Especially now at the day of the internet, you can learn so many things you couldn't learn in books back then. There's so much insight to it. I'm just, I'm constantly falling asleep to that stuff, which my wife hates, but she'll get over it. She teases me. She goes, I'm listening to something as I'm falling asleep every night. She goes, oh, We're gonna see who wins the Battle of Midway again. I see. Yeah, we are. We're gonna,
My stepdad was in the Battle of Midway, and he was in the Battle of Guadalcanal.
really? What did he?
Yeah.
Where in Midway? What part did he play in that?
I don't know. I know he's a gunnery sergeant. I only heard one story of shooting down a plane and watching a half of a body spiral down to the beach.
God, but you actually knew somebody who was there.
And he was crazy from it too. I got to tell you, he had, they didn't diagnose it at the time as PTSD, but you got to think about him as an 18-year-old kid. He volunteers for the Marine Corps, right? Wow. At the start of World War II, gets shipped over to the Pacific, and in Guadalcanal, I don't know how many people know this, but at that fight, they were surrounded and outnumbered 10-1 and cut off from all supplies and all communication with the outside world. Yeah. So here's an 18-year-old kid, outnumbered 10-1, surrounded, and having to fight their way out for quite a long time before they got any even a hint that they were going to be rescued. So that's terrifying.
I think that was where Fletcher, he was actually one of the commanders at Midway with the aircraft carriers. That was the one he got in trouble for leaving. He goes, we can't sit here with our aircraft carriers anymore. We're sitting ducks. They're like, well, we're loading all of our guys in Guadalcanal. We're not done unloading yet. We still got 2 more days. And he's like, I got to leave. And he pulled out all the air support. And then the rest of the boats left. And then all those guys were stuck there. And the Japanese like, well, okay, well, we'll just swarm everybody. Yeah, that was horrible. That was a terrible thing.
Oh, yeah, he was completely messed up from that. Apparently, I don't remember this, but when I was about 2 years old, he had his kids and my mom in a trailer. We were camping, and he was holding us all hostage. He was drunk. He had his pistol. He thought there were Japs in the woods.
Wow. Yeah, they didn't call it PTSD back then. Remember, we were kids. They called it shell shock. That was what they called it when we were
from World War I. Yeah,
it's
shell shock. Yeah,
that's something. Well, I was gonna go through some. You obviously every time you do an interview, obviously every time someone comes on here, they can impress you with the knowledge of every role you've ever played and everything you've ever done, and they try to get out of you.
Thanks.
They try to get out of you, what famous people did you work with and who was your favorite director and stuff. It's like, I get that. And that is interesting, but I think it's more interesting getting to know the guy who's playing all these characters, which is what I was trying to do with this conversation. With that being said, you did have a very long interaction with Mel Gibson one time that turned very personal. It was a moment just with you guys. You tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, you mean behind the scenes?
Yeah, fixed you a drink, and you guys talked about Shakespeare.
Yeah, that's right.
How did that come about?
I don't remember. Like, Mel and I had this really long fight scene in an armored car in Lethal Weapon 3. I think I say one word in the whole movie. But somehow I might have said something offhand like, you know what? I really liked you in Hamlet.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? He was sort of freaked out by it.
Well, you weren't just saying that.
No, I really did like him in Hamlet. And then when I did Hamlet in 2005, I revisited it. I revisited all the filmed versions of Hamlet. His was one of them. And I still liked it. I didn't like what Franco Zeffirelli did. He took away the Horatio character, which that's the human face of Hamlet you see through Horatio. Yeah. Because most of the time, Hamlet doesn't trust the court and he doesn't trust anyone. And so he's playing like he's crazy so that he can get information and not be taken seriously. And because he can't trust anyone, because no one will take him seriously either. And they're threatened by him. It's a complicated thing. But that character was missing there. And so I guess he was so impressed by the fact that I liked it. And the reasons I told him I liked it were not just kiss ass reasons.
Right.
He's like, you want a cappuccino or something? I'm sure. He takes me into his Airstream trailer and he fixes me a cappuccino, and we sit there and we talk about his experience working with Franco Zeffirelli, which frankly seemed like hell. And I was shocked at how he was able to navigate the working situation that Franco Zeffirelli created for him, because he did the to be or not to be speech in 3 separate places at 3 separate times in the shoot. And apparently the depth of focus or the lighting was such that the depth of focus was really shallow or something. So he couldn't move with any freedom without going out of focus. So that's a lot of balls to be juggling in the air while at the same time you're trying to wrap your head around the concepts that Shakespeare is writing. So that even made it more of a Studley performance to me.
So he didn't take you to the food cart. He took you to his trailer and sat
Yeah,
down
took
where
me
you
to his
guys could
trailer. We
talk.
sat there. We talked for like an
Far out.
hour.
That's
We talked
great.
for an hour, and I was just a bit player in this huge movie, and he was an international film star. I mean, he was one of the biggest stars in movies
Yeah,
at the time.
for sure.
So totally fucking down to earth, and eventually came to speak at our theater company. So before there was such a thing as inside the actor studio, at Playhouse West in Studio City, we were every time we'd work with really great actors, we'd bring them into the studio to talk with us. We had Julie Harris, Martin Landau,
Wow.
Sidney Pollack, Barry Primus, who's a
Wait,
great actor,
you
studio
got to meet
director,
those
Mel
people?
Gibson.
You got to meet those
Yeah,
people.
Julie.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
Rod Steiger. I mean, I worked with Julie Harris and Rod Steiger on a little Academy Award short that we did sort of. We workshopped it at Playhouse West, and then Jeff got an opportunity through Chanticleer Productions to do this directors or actors direct series, and it was like 4 out of the 5 nominees every year for the best short movies were from Chanticleer,
Wow.
and ours also got nominated that year as well. And so I became friends with Rod Steiger, and Rod Steiger took me to Europe for my first trip to Europe was with Rod Steiger.
Wow.
Because he's taking me to his. I was like his PA, and I would sit with him and talk about acting and Brando
God, the stuff you could absorb doing that.
Yeah,
It had to have been incredible.
it was pretty cool.
Just absorbing every conversation would had to been. Ah, gosh, there's so much stuff. All right, no more tingling. Got to get the goosebumps away. That did it. With all those names, it was just like what an opportunity in life. That's great.
Yeah, I've been fortunate.
We talked about the horror thing. We got past that because I really thought I was going to have a hard time coming along, but I got it. I understood what you were talking about with that because that was something. But there was another one. What did you say? I'm gonna mess this one up too. Working with Eddie Murphy, he was kind of very professional. Came to the set, did his scene, left. Everybody wants a piece of Eddie, so you don't spend a lot of time lollygagging around. But you had said that I'm going to get this wrong. You're going to have to straighten out this story. I'm going to totally mess this story up. But you said filming that you were a lot of scenes you were facing the back of Eddie's head, but it wasn't even Eddie. The camera was behind. I don't understand what that means. You're either in the scene with him or you're not.
No, so Eddie. He's not really acting in the scene unless his face is on the camera. And if it's not on the camera, then he has his stand-in act for him. So the guy's a pretty decent actor too. So he's really throwing himself into it. But if he turned around to face the camera, you'd see all these dots all over his face, for the CGI, so that they could probably place Eddie's face in there if he happened to turn around and, get it like a French over or something like that. But I'd say a good 40% of the work that I did was with him because if the camera's over his shoulder, it was over his shoulder, not over Eddie's.
Right. Wow.
I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest. He's a big star. He's super cool, Eddie, that is. But I like it if an actor sticks around for the other person's coverage, to be honest.
Well, and look how far we've come now where they want to, every actor, including you guys have to file some sort of weird copyright thing on your likeness in case someone wants to use your likeness in a movie with AI. They have to get permission. But even if they did, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch that. I want to watch if someone came out and said, and I like Marvel movies very much so. I dig it. I dig the storylines and everything. Okay. But they're talking about making an entire movie AI making the CGI, no actors. They're just going to sign off. Robert Downey Jr., can we use your likeness? And do that with everybody. It's like, well, but once I know that, I don't really want to go watch. I got to be honest, and I've already expressed that I'm a huge moviegoer. I want to be involved, but that's just a bridge too far for me. I think it is. I don't know. How do you feel about all that type of genre that's coming is going to be an AI industry, or at least a part of it?
Oh, I hope you're right. I think people want human contact. And I think when it comes to movies, they're going to want to see, people, real people interacting. And I hope that stays that way, but who knows? I guess if it shifts and I'm out of a job, then I'll have to find some other way to make a living. Progress is progress, and sometimes you have to find your way around it.
I just can't get there from here, Mark.
I think it'll revive
you.
theater. I think it could revive theater too if they decide to go that way because they want to save money and use only A-list actors' images and have them acting in everything, and it's all AI. The scripts are AI. First of all, they won't be very good. AI can't write very good scripts yet. And you'll also miss a lot of nuances that actors discover when they're doing performances. The AI is just going to make a composite of, the person's responses. You're not going to get all the original interesting shit that the person could come up with.
No.
So they'll get tired of the canned shit after a while.
I don't care how good Skynet gets. I don't ever see it, like you said, the nuances of a human being. Knowing when to raise your eyebrow, when to blink your eyes, when to hold back a cough in a scene. I don't see it. I don't want to see it. I just genuinely would be like, hey, I know it's a great script and I know it's a great movie. I'm going to pass. Well, don't you want to go? I really don't want to go see it. I might be opposed to it the whole way through just because that's not what I'm interested in. I want to see guys like you out there. I really do. So
me too.
So, this is where we go back to the GenXTalks professionalism with your trained broadcast professional. Don't think I got away with the conversation too far. Going to bring everybody right back to where they're supposed to be. So if you left the room for an intermission, sit back down because my favorite role, my favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes in a movie happens to be one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite scenes in the movie stars Mark Pellegrino. He's never, if I gave you 30 guesses, you'd never be able to guess what movie you were in that you had a few small scenes that I had no idea it was you until we went to do this interview. I said, well, I know who Mark Pellegrino is. And they're like, well, yeah, but you should know him from this movie. I go, he wasn't in that movie. I mean, I know this movie intensely. He's like, yeah, he was. And I got to tell you, very convincing, man. When you held his face in the toilet and you...
I figured you were going there.
Where's the money, Lebowski?
Yeah. Wow. That was fun.
There had to be, I just find that movie where you had to be, what was it like working with those brothers, running that whole production? That some people say they love it. Some people say they're difficult. But I mean, what was your experience on that show?
Well, I mean, after I read the script, I thought, well, it's a pretty good script, but it's not Fargo, and because Fargo had just come out and it was a huge hit.
Right.
Of course, when I saw what they had done with the script, it was freaking amazing. So good. It's like one of those movies you can see multiple times and still get something fresh out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Each time. And they're just, they're consummate professionals. I mean, they know exactly what they want and exactly how to get it. Joel, I think, mostly does work with the camera, and it's Ethan who sits with us actors and, helps us say it in the way that I think he hears it or perform it in the way that I think he feels it is correct. And between the two of them, they get some amazing stuff. But look, I mean, when you were talking about actors, acting, most of the time that's just in bad casting. You can't. 90% of the work for the director should be done in casting. You just cast the appropriate person for the part, and there's very little you have to do. And those guys largely keep their hands off of you. It's just if they hear something glaring or if they really want some point to be made, then they'll bring it up to you. But for the most part, they leave you alone, and they're busy conspiring how to make the shot beautiful, which they do very well.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with their body of work on stuff and how, of course, never been on set, never seen that, but you just listen to, I'll listen to interviews or documentaries where people reference being in their films, and they always say, hey, these guys know what they want. They know what their finished product is going to look like. Whether you're going to like it or not, they don't know, but they have their creative highways already laid out for the most part. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think every movie should just be, actors improvising all the time. I think that would make for a chaotic set, I would guess.
Oh, yeah. You have to have people who are very gifted at improvisation if that's the way you want to go, right? Like, like the Christopher Guest movies are good examples of very good improv actors who probably get a suggestion or a basic outline for a script, and then they just play with it. And, they know their characters so well that a lot of stuff comes out of their understanding of that. And they're just very, very clever. That can't be done all the time. And from my experience with them, you're doing what's in the script. There wasn't a whole lot of improvisation in my part of it, and I don't think any other character. I remember everybody pretty much saying what was written.
Yeah, that's correct, because John Goodman has said the same thing. He's like, yeah, don't stray from the script, because you got to stay right where you're right.
It's the Coen brothers, man. It's the Coen brothers. It's there for a reason, and they're good. So you're not going to do any better than them.
No, we already got rid of all the bad stuff. What's on the paper's good. Read that. Yeah. So where do you see what's next for you? Like I know you always want to keep working. You want to do stuff as long as you can, and you have such a storied career, and you've really made a mark on things where people like, holy shit, this guy's really had some top notch roles and stuff in some stuff that is going to be, let's face it, Mark, there's stuff that Supernatural and Dexter and Lost, that's going to go down in history forever. People are going to watch that stuff. In 30 years from now, people are still going to go back and go, God, have you seen that show? That was yeah, we were there when he made it. But what do you look for in the future? I mean, and I'm not asking, are you trying to top those things? I'm not, please don't think I'm trying to put it that way, but what's your interest now? If you had your druthers where you could say, I'd like to get into some of these things, where do you see yourself going?
Well, I'm writing stuff right now, and hopefully I'll be able to write something good enough to produce. But right now I'm hoping Vought Rising gets picked up. I'd really love to work on that another season. It was a true joy to work on that show. My favorite show to work on was Supernatural. The cast, the crew, just we all gelled like family. We still talk to each other to this day, even though the show's been off for 6 years now, something like that. But we still all talk to each other and follow each other on Facebook and occasionally get together with each other. This crew and cast for Vought Rising was even more special than that one. So, and they were there when my Frankie passed away, and they had met him already because I'd brought him on the set a couple of times, and they were just so loving and kind and supportive of my grief. I mean, I've been grieving. He died at September 21st, and I've been grieving this whole time. He's my best friend. He went with me everywhere, and so that leaves a very special mark in my heart that I'm not going to get over. So I hope we get to have a season 2 or 3 or 4, and I hope it has a run like The Boys. That would be nice. And it's a pretty crazy world. I think people might want to indulge it. So we'll see. Well, I'm only looking there for now.
Right, I got you.
Helping to produce some stuff right now, but you never know where any of that is going to go.
No, I get you on that. It says I've been learning a little bit talking to folks like you. I've been learning a little bit about how that works with shows getting picked up, a little bit how they're financed and where the money comes from, and then you try to get somebody to come along and pick it up and kind of pay back everybody who's been putting the money in, carrying it up until that point. You want to kind of get everybody in to keep going, and that's not easy. That's not easy for you guys to get picked up. I mean, even good shows like that, you just don't know, and there's so many people involved in that. And someone was just telling me at dinner the other night, how tough it is right now and the last year or so with the merger with Warner Brothers, with the political climate in Hollywood, and a lot of people going to Vegas to start filming there, how expensive it is to film. They were explaining to me that you could fly an entire crew to Ireland and film for 2 months and what you could film in LA for 1 month. And I said, that can't be.
It's crazy. No, it's true. Yeah. The work right now is in the UK. Just like the work in the United States for a while was in Pittsburgh and Detroit and Atlanta, Georgia. And now those state governments are getting stupid about the tax breaks that they're giving people. And California long got stupid about it. And as Hollywood has left Hollywood.
Yeah, but that's what you and I grew up with, was everything going on around us. Why would they? Why wouldn't you keep that there?
We have dumb politicians now, a dumb elite political class that doesn't give a shit about us. They just care about their pet projects.
But it's a name, man. Hollywood and film, and you guys, all the stuff you guys do. That's that almost is in some way Southern California. I know we got the Dodgers and we got Disneyland. Okay, Santa Monica Pier. I get you. Cool. But like Hollywood, man, this is where your dreams come true, and it's all TV and commercials and movies. And now it's
Yep.
quiet. It's quiet.
Yep.
I'm blown away as a fan.
No, it sucks. It sucks. And hopefully they'll get a brain. Hopefully somebody will get in the state legislature or the governor's office and actually open up the Hollywood world so that people start filming here. It's a perfect environment to film.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be 1,000 different locations. You know, you can't say that about Ireland, for crying out loud. I love Ireland, beautiful, beautiful place, but
Yeah.
it's not 1,001 places. Like
But just think about it. If you want to film something modern right now, you can find houses that are very cutting edge and you can film it right now. If you want to film something authentic back in the 20s and 30s, there are neighborhoods that still look that way and they're great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like having a built-in every decade is sitting around you for whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
It's all right there.
Yeah, it is. Well,
You know what? That's it. As soon as we're done, I'm calling Gavin. I'm going to call him and say, dude, man, look,
it won't have any effect on him unless you're going to donate a few $million to the presidential campaign.
We're a lot tighter than he knows.
Okay.
He doesn't know it yet, but I say, Gavin, come on. Enough with this nonsense. Come on, man. Don't make me come over there like the big brother. I got to smack you around. Let's just knock this stuff down, okay? Let's figure it out. Well, this guy I was talking to that at dinner, he said that they gave like $750 million tax break to Hollywood. And he goes, that's what, 2 big movies? He
Yeah,
goes,
nowadays, yeah.
He goes, that's
crazy.
nothing. He goes, you need to give billions to Hollywood in tax incentives so they come back and do stuff here. You can't throw a bone and pretend it's something big. Those kind of numbers don't go a long way in Hollywood, especially when you're trying to film 135 things at one time. It's nothing.
Yeah.
And, but dumb me, I'm thinking, well, 750 million is a pretty good thing. He's like, it's not. It didn't do anything. It just was writing on the wall. And I'm like, well, I'm so frustrated. Remember, in your business and what you do, I'm the end user because I'm watching. I'm the guy sitting in front of the TV or I'm buying the ticket. I'm the end user of this whole thing. I'm the one sitting there enjoying what you guys are doing. And it frustrates me that now I'm going to lose out on a product that I want.
Yeah.
I guess I'm frustrated. I don't know.
And so am I, because it just means less work, less opportunity, for us actors too. I mean, I think, was it NBC that usually does 30 pilots a year? They're doing 2. I mean,
wow.
It's just, and a lot of them are waiting for independently produced TV shows to come up and then air somewhere, like maybe Hulu or Tubi, and then they see it and they get excited and then they buy it. It's a lot cheaper. The pay scale is a lot cheaper for the regular actors on stuff like that, and that's where they're going now.
Wow. I don't know,
Unless
man.
you're Taylor Sheridan, then you he owns like half of Hollywood now.
Well, I'm okay. I don't know much about Taylor Sheridan. You hear all the gossip column they talk about. Oh, he's difficult. Him and Kevin Costner. I don't know what the real story was. That I don't even know that I care. I just know there's 2 things I can tell you from a fan is that I think they screwed up Yellowstone with whatever their problem was. I love that show. I think they screwed up the ending. They could have done way better. And the other one is that anybody who tells me that Taylor Sheridan wrote something, I will go watch it. I like so much of his stuff. Mayor of Kingstown. I like so much of his things. It's like that guy's pretty talented. I'll go give it a shot just on the name recognition. So, that's, I don't know. How can a guy write that many series? How do you even have?
Dude, I don't know. And I don't know if he has a writer's room either. I think he does this all on his own. So I don't know how he does it. Wow. Maybe he's some kind of freaky genius or something. But Taylor, if you're out there watching, I'm available.
Yeah, Taylor, I'll send this to you, buddy. But hey, Mark right here, you got to help him out because Mark and I go back. We figured out that we go back. We're from the same neighborhood, so that's so crazy. Something.
So crazy.
Hey, listen, I'm going to let you go, Mark. I really, I can't tell you what a great conversation this was. I really appreciate you taking time. Are you ever up this way in Reno? Do you ever get up to Northern Nevada? Because that's where I'm at right now. I moved.
I never do. I mean, I get to Vegas from time to time.
Yeah, and I lived in Vegas for 2 years. I get it. I love Vegas. There's some cool stuff there. I didn't know how cool Reno was, and where I'm living right now, I'm like 15 minutes from Lake Tahoe. I'm 30 minutes from Reno, and it is just an entirely entirely different way of life up here. I can't believe how nice everybody is. And I know you're like, well, in downtown Reno. No. Downtown Reno crime, downtown Reno people being rude is nothing compared to places I've lived. This is it's just beautiful up this way. I don't know, I'll bug you sometime and see if I can't get you up here for a weekend and we'll hang out at my brother-in-law's place. He's got this beautiful view and we just, it's middle-class people up here, salt of the earth people just hanging out, having a good time. And you'd fit right in because I fit right in. It'd be great to do that. So listen, I'm going to sign out with everybody, but I want you to know that it was a privilege to meet you today and have you on.
Thank you. It was great. Thank you.
All right, you guys, you see what happened here? I warned you. I tried to tell you, don't skip this one. I warned you in the beginning, this was not the episode where my wife beats me up for an hour. I tried to tell you that this was going to be one you didn't want to miss. And did I deliver? Yeah, because I had Mark here with me, so of course it was going to turn out good. Listen, thank you guys for tuning in. Not sure where you're listening in from around the planet, AM, FM, Sirius XM, or perhaps you're tuning in on the Armed Service Radio Network. Remember two things in life. Number one, wherever you go, well, there you are. And number two, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. I'm out, baby. I got to go.